Get up!
This is Connections.
Check. Facebook? Yeah, Facebook. Is it on? Is it going? Is it live? Are we doing it? Oh, you're fluttering over there. Soft opening. Whee! This is our... Say something.
Hola.
Oh, he's there.
I am right here.
Tommy's number one.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he thinks he is, but we're really number one.
Boys.
Beats being number 2.
Yeah, I was kind of, just a sidebar, we have a few minutes to warm up the old vocal cords. Hi, welcome everybody. We are now live on Facebook, Twitch, LinkedIn, Periscope, and probably some other places in the dark net we don't even know about.
Heck yeah.
Okay, so anyway, yeah, quick sidebar. I always, my actual favorite number is 13, because of course I like to be the oddball, right? But when I played Little League, and I was one of the first girls allowed when the whole Little League thing opened up in the early 70s and said, yeah, we'll take girls because we have to. And I really wanted the number 13, but I ended up with a different number, and my mom would go and cheer me on all the time. My dad was working. And I think it was like 1974, maybe 75. And my mom would be out there, and she learned not to yell my name out. It just didn't work really well. So she would keep yelling out, go number 2! Go number 2! True story. True story. And so many more of those to follow tonight. Dr. David Klein, what?
My favorite number is the square root of 11.
There's what?
Yeah, and so, no, actually, I used to race. Okay? Yeah,
Okay.
did dirt track. And so my number was the square root of 11.
Did it actually say square root of 11 on
Yeah,
it?
it had the square root sign 11, yeah. Okay.
I don't even know what that means.
Oh, yeah, nor did anybody else.
Nobody. Yeah, because it doesn't
That was
exist.
half the fun. Oh, yeah, well, it's an irregular number.
Well, yeah, it's not a real square root, is it?
Yeah.
Hey,
It just-
Dave.
Oh my god.
That's my number.
All right, that's good stuff. So tonight we're going to talk. Well, it's not really that good stuff. It was okay. I mean, I think the Little League story was a little better than that whole square root of 11.
No,
Very
Tess is a sapiosexual, so I got her aroused with that. You know, it
Nice.
works. You can
Numbers. Yeah, your number. Oh, brain stuff. I thought she meant saphosexual, which is something totally different.
We can talk about that too.
I thought so. Tonight, big number, fan of number 69. Very good for you. Okay, so tonight, guys, on the show, we are actually, no, we're just pre-show. Remember, this is our it's just like,
We're
what's...
tailgating it.
No, what's that word I'm looking for that guys never... Oh, yeah. Foreplay.
Play.
Yeah, that's the word. Yeah, so we're this is foreplay. Yeah, so guys, you might be confused. It might last a little longer
This is
than
why
you
you don't
expect.
get as lucky as Dr. Dave does.
I'm right. Let's take some time. So anyway, tonight we're talking about misdiagnosis, and it
And
happens.
Mr.
And
Diagnosis.
no, just miss.
Ah.
Yeah, or is it Ms? Anyway, feminism aside, hashtag me too. Don't care.
There you go.
But well, anyway, let's talk, shall we? Misdiagnosis, seriously, happens all the time, and
Yeah.
we're going to talk about that tonight. And the weird part about it is, a lot of people just live with some quacky doctor's answer. Oh, okay, I'll just take these pills for the rest of my life, even though I feel like crap and can't get up and move around the country. And they don't get a second opinion. And there's
happens.
lots of reasons why this happens all the time. Okay, so we're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to talk about a couple of other things. We're going straight on through to the other side. What we're going to do is we'll take the musical ramp up, we'll go to a break, and then, boop, the next segment will start. And the reason we're doing that is because tonight is this quirky little popcorn session shit show called... the presidential debate.
Ooh, so
Number
excited.
one.
So we are getting ahead of it so we can go home and enjoy it just as you do.
Just like you, we're going to sit on the couch and we're going to enjoy the entire evening, or at least the first 20 minutes of it. Now, this is just because we have like a minute or so to talk beforehand.
Yeah.
You wanna give a little?
I had an idea. Okay. And so frequently we look at these things and say to ourselves in so many words, not my circus, not my monkeys, right?
Right.
No, this is our circus, and those are our monkeys.
I know.
So we need to watch these, watch them perform. No, this is going to be one of the best free world experiences going. I mean, you can't watch the Queen of England go out and debate. It's just not going to happen. but we can watch our folks debate. This is
Right?
great. Is it going to be much of a debate? We shall see.
You know, we don't know. Okay, and again, in preparation here, I'm sure that Biden's been advised not to jump if there are insults, but there's a lot more finger wagging from his side than Trump's side, I think. So,
Well, you're going to have to, because I
Yeah.
mean, if you're going to live on your accomplishments, he isn't going to live very long.
yeah,
47 years in Congress and didn't do it.
not a
darn
thing.
thing.
All right, so we're going to start the show in about 8 seconds. So, shut up.
Live from the Connections Studio Suites, it's Connections. Connections is relationship radio.
Hi, everybody. It's that time again. Melissa Fox, along with hashtag Lizzie Said What, and from Stages of Life Medical Institute, located in beautiful Longwood, Florida, just off of I-4 and 434, we have our favorite doctor, David Klein. What's up?
Hey, how's it going?
Are you waving at the radio?
I'm waving at the radio. I
Hello,
always
radio.
wave at the radio.
Yeah, actually, you do. It's kind of weird.
I think it's kind of funny.
It's awesome.
Yeah, that curtsy was nice too, but
Well, no, I
y'all
mean-
missed that.
Yeah. Well, it's a manly curtsy.
It was.
It's a manly. That's a manly butterfly right there.
That really is. Stages of Life has a butterfly, which I like because obviously,
If you look closely, it's a manly butterfly.
it is a manly butterfly.
Uh-huh.
There's nothing feminine about it.
No, you got to get up and close.
Yeah, but don't get too close. It's COVID. All right, so tonight we're talking about misdiagnoses. Definition?
Definition. Okay, it's when you carry a numerical or a alphanumeric diagnosis code, and that's just not right. Okay, it just works this way. And misdiagnosis is a label. Somebody gives you a label, they tell you what's wrong with you, and they're wrong. You know, it's just the way these things work. What makes you think that because somebody has an MD after their name, that they're correct? Well, guess what? Half of the doctors that are out there. Let's just look at this.
Lizzie is amazed all of a
It's
sudden.
true.
I know. Well, the
There's
thing
half
is-
of the doctors out there. Fully half of all doctors are of below average ability.
But we're always taught that we should trust exactly what our the doctors. They're professionals. They're governed by these
They're regulated.
roles. Yeah,
Okay,
they're regulated.
Let's just say that they're not dangerous. Okay, that doesn't mean that they're not any good.
Right.
Okay, fully half of the doctors out there are of below average ability, which makes a lot of sense when you think about it, because that's mean equals median mode. So half
There he
of them
goes
really
with
aren't-
numbers again.
Half aren't any damn good, and here in Florida and other parts of the country that have a similar demographic, okay, it's worse.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, when I first went into practice, and I came out of Duke, thought I knew everything.
Put his shingle up. He's
Brady
ready.
just went out there and did my thing. I was in solo practice because I really didn't want to be bothered
See?
with anybody. Yeah, it just wasn't done too often,
Mm-hmm.
especially as an anesthesiologist. Solo practice anesthesia. I just didn't want to be bothered with anybody. And went to a little town of 30,000. The reason I went to a little town of 30,000 was because I figured in my own way that would be the second to last place that HMOs would go, because you have to have a certain number of people within an area
Right.
in order to make it financially reasonable. So I went ahead and picked a little town in southwest Virginia and decided to go to work there. Cool little town. Brilliant decision. I was there for 17 years. But at that hospital, 200-bed hospital, all right, it's about the same size as most of the Adventist hospitals or Orlando Regional hospitals around here, about 200 beds. And it fed the whole county. I mean, it's a county the size of Rhode Island. So we got lots and lots of pathology. But what was interesting about it was that if you did not get your board certifications within 2 years of getting on board there, they kicked you off. You were gone.
Oh, gosh.
Okay? Now, a significant percentage of the doctors in this region, this state, are not board certified. So what you have to do is you have to look at this, the qualifications. It's not enough to say, well, gee, the MD is after my name. The MD is a minimum qualification. And many of the ones that receive this don't even receive it in this country. They don't receive it any place that's much better than getting it at the local hospitals, frankly. And so that you go in and you end up getting a cookbook diagnosis. You can do better on web. So what happens is, well, my doctor told me that I have, I don't know, it's real easy to diagnose hypertension, you would think. All right? Well, my doctor told me that I have asthma. You would think that that would be pretty easy. But each of these diseases is caused by something else. What do you think? There's all of a sudden your blood pressure went up for grins? No, there's a reason why the body does this, okay? And so if somebody comes and says, well, 18th century, 1700s, doctor comes in, Mrs. Jones, let me get a look at Billy, puts his hand on Billy's forehead. What is Billy's diagnosis there, doctor? Billy has fever. Oh, no.
He's gonna die.
Stricken with the fever.
Billy has fever. So that was a diagnosis, okay, until we started to figure out what caused it. So tell somebody that they have fever is just not going to work. So if you came into my office and said, okay, Mrs. Jones, your problem is you have fever, you would think I was crazy.
Yeah, no, honestly, I wanted to go back further than the fever one because I got the vapors.
The vapors? Oh, another good one. Yeah. And so before we understood that women are truly irrational and imbalanced.
Easy.
Okay.
There's three of us.
Yeah,
Right?
I know. I get beaten up, but I like that though. That's another diagnosis.
All right, then
code.
you won't get beaten up.
That's another. Oh yeah, I love
There's
the joke.
your
Yes,
punishment.
I love it. Yeah. So what is it all about? Okay, so up until about 1920, 1930, when they started isolating hormones. Okay, what was it that was driving women crazy around the time of their menstruation, ovulation, or just in general? And they would call it the vapors. Okay, hysteria. Okay, what's hysteria all about? What they thought, the Greeks thought anyway, until they learned other
I loved
things.
the original cure.
Yeah. Okay. That the uterus would wander around the abdomen, and that would drive you crazy. That would drive me crazy too.
The uterus was wandering?
Yeah, hysteria.
Doc,
That's what it is.
I have
hysteria.
a wandering
Hysteria.
uterus.
Yeah, that's what that is. So
We get the phone, it's my
misdiagnosis-
uterus.
Yeah,
I'm in
misdiagnosis has been
Chicago.
around for as long as
I've
it's been
wandered.
medicine. Yeah,
I wondered where
yeah,
you
you
went.
reel it in. It's kind of like when you go fishing. Some ways. So
Sorry.
what do we do? So in medicine, your first imperative. Okay, the first thing you've got to do as a doctor. Okay, is show up. Okay, what are the 3 A's? If there are any doctors listening in, which I hope there are, but probably not.
Maybe.
Okay, there are 3 A's of success. Availability, affability, ability. What does that mean? Okay, you show up. Okay, you can be the brightest guy out there. You can be highly trained, but if you're not available, you're useless. All right, nobody's gonna bother with you. So you show up. That's 2/3. The second one is affability or friendliness. If they like you, they'll make sure you're okay. And the third thing, in the order of importance, is ability. Availability, affability, ability. All right.
Okay.
So when you sit back and think of the doctors that you've had over the years, most people aren't really they're not necessarily smart enough, in a manner of speaking, to know who is good at what they do and who isn't, but they always know who they like. All right, if you like,
So that's the affability.
if you like
yeah.
the doctor, okay, then it doesn't matter what they say. You're going to be happy with what they have to say. It's true.
Is there something that is somewhere that they can research, like if they want to find a new doctor, and where like they have
Yeah.
Yelp? I mean,
Yeah,
do they
yeah,
have like
you can
a
go
legit?
you can go on Yelp and get all kinds
No,
of
but I mean-
misinformation. You can
No,
go
but
on
I mean-
health grades, and you can get all kinds of really miserable
Let's just go to
information.
WebMD and cancel the whole thing.
No, what you do, okay, and this is the best way to handle how do I find a good doctor, which is a question I was hoping to ask around the 3/4 hour point.
I know, right? But Lizzie
However,
really
I will do it
jumped
right now
ahead.
because
You know what?
Lizzie knows what
Lizzie's
knows
got
what.
the vapors.
Yeah.
That's it.
No, what you do, and it's a simple shortcut to figure out who to go to see, and that's to ask a doctor who he or she goes
Always.
to see.
Referrals.
No. Who takes care of your back? Who takes care of your eyeballs? Who takes care of your feet? Who takes care of your ears?
Oh,
Think about that for a second, okay? Now, as a general rule, okay, I send my patients to the same doctors that I go to. Why? Because because I will go ahead and research it. I'll research it once or twice, but how many different times do I need to research it?
True.
If I'm going to send somebody out and that person is a jerk, what do you think that patient thinks of me? Not a heck of a
Oh,
lot.
yeah.
Right.
Truly, it's my endorsement. If I send somebody out, I want you to see, Dr. Jones, because Dr. Jones does a particularly good job on left knees, not right knees, but left knees. And this person turns into be an a-hole, I guess is what I was looking for. Then it makes me look bad, makes the patient unhappy, and then the next time I come up with a recommendation like, gee, we need to operate on you because you may be saving your life, they might not listen to me. So who do you ask? not Ghostbusters, but you ask a practicing physician in that environment, who would you send your mother to, your sister to, your daughter to? There's your gynecologist.
Yeah. That reminds me of a quick story here. You know how we went down to Palm Beach, Florida, which is very, very crusty. I'm sure you know.
Yeah.
And we couldn't find a place to eat that we even thought we could afford, so we asked the help, where do you eat?
Yes.
And
Even
they
still,
sent us across
you
the street.
ask the help, what do you order?
Yeah, and that too. Exactly. When we come back, we're going to tell you how to figure out if you've been misdiagnosed and how to find that doctor for whatever it is you need. You're listening to Connections, sponsored by Stages of Life Medical Institute.
What are we waiting for? Let's get this party started.
East Connections.
Welcome to Crazy World.
Thank you.
Connect.
Oh, if you like that, you can check out NunezProductions.com if you've got a podcast or a radio show or just want your own entrance music. Which, I don't know, seriously, I think that would be really cool. It's Melissa Fox.
That's a
on with
brilliant idea.
hashtag
Oh,
Lizzie
no,
said what?
imagine this. Okay, so you walk into a party.
Dr. Dave
okay?
wants his own entrance music.
Yeah,
See?
you put your entrance music on your boombox, this little
Just
guy
not
here.
Despacito.
Yeah, and you kind of walk in there and just let your hair,
Right.
again, like
Already
Maybe a
do
little
that.
fan
Let
on
your
the
hair
floor
go-
that blows in
I
there.
already do that.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It's just natural.
Mm-hmm.
I
No, I
love
do.
it. Yeah.
Seriously, y'all think I'm joking? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Dr. Klein. He's with us every other episode of Connections. He talks about what's going on in the medical world because he's our go-to guy, and he's really the smartest guy in the room, or at least right now in Longwood, Florida.
In Longwood, yeah,
Yeah.
the room gets smaller, and then it gets smarter.
It could happen.
Yeah.
So if you want any more information about what Dr. Dave is talking about tonight or anything else that we are talking about, you can go to stagesoflifemedicalinstitute.com. That's just kind of a landing pad, and from there, the world is your oyster. Is that is pretty
Yeah, pretty
reasonable.
much.
Yeah.
reasonable? Yeah. We've seen just a quickie over here, because why not? We've seen recently the new 15-45-second swabbing tests. Everyone's getting them up your nose. The governor, this guy over there, the White House.
I'll give it to the governor.
Are they any good?
It depends on what and how you define as good. Okay, a whole bunch of those tests. You're going to love this one. These machines were given to nursing homes. Well, don't you know? You actually have to know what you're doing to run them.
Yeah, so I was wondering about that.
You have to calibrate and validate them in order to get real results. So a lot of these very expensive machines are sitting in boxes.
Oh, gosh.
So we're looking actually to acquire a couple of these things for my lab because we need backup just in case our machines break.
And he likes to have
So
stuff.
we're probably going to trade things like, I don't know, test tubes, for these expensive pieces of
Right.
equipment. Something that they might be
I've
able to
got
use.
toilet
Donuts.
paper.
Yeah, here are 3 cartons of donuts. We'll trade it to you for that Sophia antigen machine. Yeah, and so what do I think? Okay, what happens is you got to know what you're doing, and you need to understand something called the lower limit of detection. So these machines that are out there, many of them are junk in terms of really being very accurate. Now, I am kind of a bizarre guy. You might have already figured that out
Just
by now.
a little.
So our PCR, okay, so we own 2 of them, just in case one breaks. I'm kind of a Boy Scout at heart. It's the best machine in the world, actually. Now, arguably, there's another company that thinks theirs is better, but ours has the lowest limit of detection of 20 particles per ml. What does this mean? It means that a virus, COVID, can't sneeze in your system without me picking it up.
Ah, gotcha.
So if we have an LOD of 20. If you go up the street to this major, marquee university up in Jacksonville, okay, they have a nice hospital up there. Their machine is at 695. So our machine is 35 times more sensitive than one of the finest, quote unquote, hospitals in the world, which it really isn't. So what do you do? If you're looking at an antigen machine that can't really detect diseases when they're, let's just say, either very, very mild or on the way in or on the way out, you don't really have much to go with. That's the way these things operate. So we're picking up patients that have been sick in the past that were not picked up on a lot of these tests where you lined up at the convention center to get your freebie.
Okay.
That's just the way that it went. You can't get all of it for nothing.
Right,
Okay,
well-
so there are three parameters you have to deal with. And this is not just true in laboratory medicine or medicine at all, but it's true in life. If you want to go get yourself I don't know, let's say a dinner, okay, you've got three parameters. You have quality, you have price, and you have convenience or service. You don't get all three. You're not going to get the cheapest at the highest quality for the best service. It doesn't work that way.
No.
So when you go someplace
two.
and quality is going to either be sacrificed, convenience, oh, we're doing it right here. All you have to do is drive through, lean back, and we're going to shove this thing up your nose. Right.
No,
Okay.
thanks.
Yeah. Those of you that actually visited us at stages to have their PCRs done realize that if you have to lean back to have something shoved up there, they're doing it wrong.
It's not right.
It's not correct.
Yeah.
Look at your Halloween skull that you're sitting on your kid's. Look at it. Just look at that skull. There's a triangular thing right dead smack in the center of the face, which is where the nose is supposed to be, right?
Oh.
Okay, guess what? Nothing about that says shove it up into the eyes to get where it needs to go. It
Yeah,
goes
it's bad.
straight back. So you have these clowns doing it, and you end up with bad results. So the machines can be good, but the operator's bad. That's a bad result.
Mm-hmm.
The machine can be bad, and you have a bad operator, in which case you have a worse result. Or you can have a good machine and a good operator. And that's what you're looking for. So going out and getting a 15-minute test, I will promise you that you can't get a good quality antibody or antigen test done in 15 minutes of any accuracy.
Did you see the tests that they're sending to several states? The 900 million test.
Yeah.
Where it's like 6 drops and then roll it around in here for 4 seconds, then roll it around the
Yeah.
next one. That is the one I'm asking about.
Oh, precisely. I get it.
Is that
is
what in the hiddly high is going on?
Okay, in order to do these things, laboratories have to be very, very precise. The procedures have to be precisely done. They have to be they got to be able to be replicated. Let's be realistic here. You need to follow instructions. What in God's creation do you really think that these clowns are going to follow these instructions?
And they're going to the nursing homes first.
I have 23 people working for me. And one of the biggest challenges is consistency. Every Monday it's like re-education day. So why is that? It's just the way life is. But when you start making things complicated, it'd be like you trying to show me how to operate your board. Well, I can guarantee I can pick it up in about 5 minutes and forget it in 10. And that is what's going to happen. But it doesn't make me a good board operator. In fact, it doesn't even make me anything more than dangerous.
Right.
That's what this is all about. So you're
Okay.
going to risk grandma's life on some technician sitting in a nursing home that I wouldn't trust to make a 3-minute egg with this type of technology. You got to be kidding me.
Okay.
Now, here's the other thing. Now, let's talk about dollars and cents.
Yeah.
So they get the test for free until such time as they have to buy the reagents. Now, to run each one of these tests, it might be between $5 and $30, which comes out of their nickel. So do you think they're going to be buying the reagents? Do you think they're going to buy the validation kits? Do you think that they're going to actually go through validation with CLIA or any of the others? And the answer is probably not. So this is something very much akin to lollipops. Let's give them lollipops to make them feel better. So
Nice. I
we're
love
out there.
lollipops.
We're part of our business. Okay, Stages of Life is a cool little company. I like it. I've grown attached to it. As
Do you
it
guys
were.
have lollipops
But
there?
we have actually we don't.
No.
But
son
at
of a biscuit.
But Florida Laboratory Analysis, which is our sister company in Jacksonville, where we do a good deal of the reference laboratory work that we talk about, we travel all over the country by jet, taking care of our big corporate customers to do their PCRs.
Nice.
They send the jet into Jacksonville Executive, and then they scooch them all over the country.
Lizzie, read that card.
It is Florida Laboratory Analyst.
Analysis.
Thank you.
Systemic,
Listen, if you're paying-
systematic. Who cares?
I know. It was
It's
tomato,
good.
tomato. Get out of here.
Try again.
Florida Laboratory
Analysis.
Analysis.com. COVID hotline is 407 636 3945.
I just got it. Oh, I can't stand up. All right.
Sit
Yeah,
right
and,
there.
and we started a new one. You're going to love this. It's called travelpcr.com. Now, travelpcr.com, what's this one all about? It's the same company. Okay, but now you can actually go online, schedule your PCR, schedule where you're going to do it, you pay for it, and you show up when you show up. And it's really, really cool. So if you have to travel to Jamaica, you're going to Mexico, you're going to the UK. It doesn't matter. We had 3 guys from a major aeronautical company this morning that were going to the UAE, I think it was. It's either Saudi Arabia or UAE. I can't remember. And
One of those places with
one of
sand.
those, lots of sand and lots of alcohol. You know what I mean? or
Yes.
none.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so you go on, you make your reservation, you pay for it, and you're gone. But we can get the PCRs done for you in time for you to break it within that 72-hour window. So there's nothing worse than having a $10,000 vacation coming up and not having a PCR to make it to Paris. It makes no sense.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
So do we do that? And the answer is yeah.
So, we just talked about misdiagnosis, and you didn't even realize it because you thought it was talking about COVID. The weird thing is, there's all that kind of stuff going on as well with the COVID testing, as you just heard. Not flawless by any degree. Ooh, speaking of Shebop. All right, we're going to be right back. It's Connections, Relationship Radio with a twist.
You're listening to Connections, Relationship Radio.
With a twist.
Finally, this town will have a real claim to fame.
Are you gonna listen to me? Are you gonna listen to me so I can tell you that I respect you?
Quit lying. Welcome back to Connections, fun times with the doc. How you doing? We've got Dr. David Klein with us from Stages of Life Medical Institute. We're talking about misdiagnoses. I was just reading that Tommy Hawk on our Facebook Live feed said he had some blood work done last week. The results were different. The doctor said, look, we're checking a little better. We're checking more things. Well, isn't that exciting?
That's a little scary. Thunder.
Okay, well
Florida.
we're checking more things.
Right.
All right, what we're going to do is we're going to look at laboratory numbers for a second.
Hey, Doc, I think I had COVID, but I don't have any antibodies or antigens, and it was like 4 months ago.
Yeah. Okay, so guess what? You had a cold. All right? Yes.
sorry.
Oh, yeah. But I got really sick. George Washington died of a cold. So can you. All right. So misdiagnosis is something that we're all kind of guilty of. It happens. It just all depends on how much data you have in front of you. So let's say we're looking at laboratories. So what is the likelihood that any particular number in that array of things is actually going to be within normal range or is going to be accurately reflective of the patient's system? And the answer is about 6 to 7%. So one test in 20, one line in 20 is going to be abnormal when in fact it isn't.
One line in 20?
One line in 20. So when you look at your blood work and you see 30, 40, 50 things listed, or 20 things at least, 1 to 2 are going to be abnormal, and it has nothing to do with the health of the patient
Oh my God.
or the disease. That is the nature of laboratory diagnosis. Because
1 and 20.
what's the definition? Bell-shaped curve, right? You slop off 2.5% on the north side, 2.5% on the south side, and everybody else is normal. But we do know that if we're looking at weight, it would be normal, according to those parameters, to weigh as little as 80 pounds as an adult or as much as 350.
God, I've seen that. What the heck?
That's because that is the way these things work. So you have to look at this thing intelligently. You know, I took, I guess it was 4 graduate level courses in statistics of measurement when I was an analytical chemist. Then there's population statistics, all kinds of predictive and derivative statistics to understand what you're talking about. So right now we're looking at things like poll numbers. Well, it's well within. We interviewed 62 likely voters, and it's plus or minus 4%. Well, I'll tell you what. How did they come up with a plus or minus 4%? Okay, it's a standard error of the estimate. Okay, and so you're looking at what the likelihood is of any particular number being truthful within a 95% likelihood. That's not an absolute number. That's why
Not
Trump
at
got
all.
elected last time around with bad poll numbers. He got elected because he actually was more popular than they chose to convey it.
Well, yeah.
And then there's also some lying involved.
Silent wave,
It's a
embarrassment.
lot of, you know how these things go. So what is it about laboratory? And that's that if you have a grossly abnormal lab, you recheck it. Now this happens, and you're going to go, well, gee, doc, you're a laboratory director. Why is it that, that uric acid level came back at 8? Okay, oh, it's way too high. What are you going to do about it? And the answer is I'm going to recheck it. Because sometimes things happen. Right outside the studio right now, there's a thing going on called thunder and lightning. And what I will tell you is that the lights will flicker a little bit, and when you have electronic equipment, like sophisticated radio broadcast equipment, weird things happen. Okay, the settings change. All of a sudden, you were talking to Riyadh rather than Sanford. Okay, it's just the way these things work.
And even with a battery backup, weird things happen.
Weird things happen. But with a laboratory, okay, those little decimal places sometimes flip across. So instead of having a testosterone of 500, you have a testosterone of 5,000 or 50.
Yeah.
Okay, it happens. So you recheck. You have to do this because you don't take a course of action with somebody based upon a singular lab test taken out of context. Or you end up with what? Misdiagnosis. Wouldn't you know it? So the laboratory data can lead to misdiagnosis. So here's the hallmark of a better physician. Not necessarily a good one or an excellent one, but a better one. The better one looks at you, talks to you, examines you, and then decides upon what laboratory and radiology tests to either confirm the diagnosis or suspicion thereof or to rule it out.
Well, I thought you just wrote down a code for something or other and sent them on their way.
No, that may make it look that easy, but there's a whole lot more in between.
Okay.
So that is how this is done. So unfortunately, medicine isn't practiced that way anymore. We have this thing right now called telehealth, which is, in my opinion, an abomination.
It's horrible.
You can't tell somebody's skin color over a camera.
You know,
okay? It's not going to work.
Doc, just a quick story again. I had a lung checkup on my lungs by telehealth.
You got to be kidding me.
No, I'm very serious.
Wow.
Yeah.
How are you going to hear somebody's breathing?
I was the only one on camera. I couldn't understand what they were doing. There were two different...
okay, what this is an exercise. It's an exercise in being a sissy.
Patience.
Okay, they're being sissies. Well, we're not going to come in because we have COVID. Okay, I've had 2 wars behind me. You didn't run from the shooting.
Right.
Okay, that's the way it works. If you're a fireman, you don't run from the fire. If you're a policeman, you don't run from the robbery. You run towards it. So guess what? Teachers out there, I don't want to go in because little Johnny might make me sick. You're a sissy. If you're fired, stay at home. Hire somebody else. Okay, but the same thing is true of doctors. My dentist today, I went to the dentist. Okay, God knows. All right, and so they're in moon suits. All right, to do what they have to do, and they're correct. Because when you're in there working on teeth, it's like it's aerosolized fecal material going all over the darn place.
Oh, wow.
So if anybody's going to get sick, it's going to be those folks. And they showed up for work.
In hazmat suits, but
they
there.
showed up. No, that's what I told them. I said, God bless you. I said, now I understand exactly what's going on. But they said, well, do you think these masks do any good? I said, no, not for me, but for you, they do a great deal of good. When you're walking along in the grocery store, you think they do any good? The answer is no.
No, but ever since AIDS, dentists have been much more cautious about bodily fluids.
Ever since hepatitis B, okay, goes back to the 1970s. They started wearing gloves. When I was a kid, the dentist did not wear gloves, let alone masks.
My God, I had a dent pull a tooth out with a pair of pliers.
They are pliers. They're just made with stainless steel.
No, these were just regular pliers.
That's what you get for being in the Army.
Can I borrow those, Craftsman?
Army, bad news. Okay.
Hey,
Air Force, much better. Navy, best.
They give me really good drugs.
Nice. Well, that made
it was that sideline for them.
They overdosed me on them after they pulled my tooth out.
I would have. I would have given you something to help you with your memory. So
well,
here we're going to give this to you.
Remembered it.
Yeah, we're going to give this to you. It's going to. Yeah. I used to when I was doing surgery, I used to give all of my patients preoperative Valium.
Ooh.
Why? Because it gave you an attitude check when you rolled in.
Yeah,
but also it's an anterior grade amnestic. You didn't remember anything, so you could really, say rude things and nobody'd know. But also it leaves you suggestible.
So I would say telehealth. I would say telehealth visits lead very quickly to misdiagnosis.
Yeah, they do, but
or
more
lack
so,
of a diagnosis.
And they charge the same for that as for in person.
Ridiculous.
It's basically a money gathering operation. Mm-hmm. I will do it if I have somebody that's out of town, okay, and I need to reach them or do whatever, or adjust a medication due to lab work. Mm-hmm. But to make an initial evaluation, I will not do it. I tell people you're going to fly into town. I will see you then, and then we'll deal with it as we go with it, because you have to be able to look at people in order to understand what you're doing with it.
Oh, yeah. Well, look, I mean, they didn't. I was on camera, but they weren't. Okay, first of all, so I didn't know who I was talking to.
What, the doctor wasn't on camera?
No, it was just me. I was the only one on camera, and it was like 15 minutes of waiting for them. The doctor
you may wait longer. It happens that way.
Yeah, and even then.
The waiting list doesn't change.
And then when they come in, they just ask me some very basic questions. Again, this was a lung examination. This was how's your COPD? Oh, it's great. Okay, great. We'll just keep you on whatever you're doing.
Yeah. Well, how about the pediatric stuff? Well, has your kid reached milestones? No, I've got 3 young grandchildren.
Yes,
right?
you do.
Okay, this is the way this works these days. All right. well, has X, Y, and Z reached her milestones? Okay, do you know what the milestones are?
No.
Okay, no, nor do I really care to sit
Walking?
back and learn. No, it's just that, no, that's actually what you're paying them to do. No, have they reached their milestones? Listen, doc, why don't you examine the patient, okay, the little kid right there, the one that's screaming, okay, and figure out whether or not the hips are working. Okay, you're supposed to actually make sure the hips aren't dislocating. There's a whole bunch of things you're supposed to do.
All these things you got to wiggle and parts
Make
going
sure
this
the
way.
kid's swallowing properly. Make sure they're breathing okay. Make sure
Yeah.
that all the
Check the
parts are where they're
nose.
supposed to be. Yeah, and they don't do it anymore. So when I moved to Florida, I moved here to retire. Okay, I came down here to get the heck out of Dodge. I sold my companies. I did really well with it. I came down here to learn how to play golf, tennis, and goof off. I ended up going back into practice very quickly because I couldn't find a doctor
You
that I
were
found
bored,
suitable.
too.
No,
Admit it.
I couldn't find a doctor to take care of my kid.
Okay.
So it's like, you have got to be kidding me. So this is a problem, and it's going to continue to be a problem. So misdiagnosis is what this is all about. So you have to really be on your game to figure things out. It's like telling the weather. Predicting the weather is not an easy thing to do.
Oh, it is in
you have
Florida,
hundreds.
kinda,
Yeah, it's always, hey, it's Florida, it's going to rain today. That part you got.
Yeah.
Okay, but there are hundreds of possibilities, or more, many more really, and getting it right half the time is pretty darn good.
Oh, come on, hippy dippy leather guy.
Yeah, with medicine, it gets a little bit easier, and yet it gets a little bit harder. So where do we see misdiagnosis in practice? We're going to get to that in a moment.
That's correct. And again, does it matter how many certificates you got on your wall?
I got lots of certificates, and I can be every bit as wrong as everybody else.
Yeah, I thought so. Okay, I heard that. You heard it. It's on tape. Connections,
Yeah.
relationship radio with a twist. We'll be right back. We're talking about misdiagnoses tonight on the show. Stay right there.
Relax. I'm going to move the energy from your thighs to your buttocks now. Now, which one of you doubts my powers?
You, Lieutenant Weinberg.
Are you finished? Are you finished?
No, I'm just getting warmed up.
Are you finished? Are you finished?
No, I'm just getting warmed up.
Welcome back to Connection Show. You can get the podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. We do this for you on Thursday nights. We are on WFLA Orlando as well as live on the World iHeart. Otherwise, we're just doing our thing here on Facebook and Periscope and Twitch and a million other things. We've got Dr. David Klein in the house with us tonight. You can check him out at stagesoflifemedicalinstitute.com. There's stagesoflifevitamins.com, Stages of Life Radio, and you can follow them on Facebook and on YouTube at Stages of Life Medical Institute. Also, we were talking earlier about the rapid testing for COVID. You can get that at FloridaLaboratoryAnalysis.com. Much more information, employer and group testing as well. And don't forget, Dr. Dave has a radio show on News Radio WFLA Orlando, Sunday afternoons at 4 o'clock. He and I hang out with you and talk about all things medical. Tonight it's misdiagnoses. Lizzie.
Yes.
You ever been told something was wrong with you and you were like, that doesn't seem right? What did you do? What would you do if that had happened?
Oh, well, they found a lump in my breast, and the doctor kind of freaked out on me, like, oh my gosh, like, this is possibly cancer. And I'm like, okay, whatever.
Mm.
And so they sent me in for the scans and stuff, and of course the typical mammogram doesn't work on me. It's like, it doesn't work. You can't
She's
see
got
nothing.
some corn-fed
Like a pillow scan's more like it.
Yeah, so they actually had to do, sonogram
Yeah.
to actually be able to see everything. They're just like, yeah, you just have a little extra meat in one area. I was like, oh, shocker.
Right.
So,
Meanwhile, the doctor
but-
got all like,
Yeah.
I don't want to worry you.
Yeah, I know, yeah. So, yeah, it was, if he hadn't sent me to go get it done, I was already in the process of trying to find a second opinion before, tell my kids I was dying, so.
All right, good call.
Well, one of the things about breast cancer and breast lumps, okay, is it's always better to err on that side of safety.
Of course.
Right.
So you go ahead, you find something that doesn't feel right to you, you send them in, and you pray that it's negative. And so that, that's just the way it goes.
That's what I did.
What about appendicitis? You would think that'd be a fairly simple thing. Well, if you're not operating if you're 9 times out of 10 correct, okay, it means 1 time in 10 you're operating on a normal appendix.
Whoops.
Is that a problem?
Could be.
The answer is no. Okay, because that you have to be a little bit aggressive with appendicitis, because if you're wrong, these people can die or have, let's say, some misery for the rest of their life. So there's a tolerance in medicine. You cannot be 100% certain of anything. So as an example, my lovely wife here wanted to humiliate me. So she wanted me to bring up my own issue, okay, which is foot pain. So when I first met her, I was having some issues with my left foot.
You've been hobbling around forever.
Correct. Okay.
Like Daniel Day-Lewis.
Well, and I thought, okay, that it was just basic karate injury. Yeah, karate injury. All right. Okay, things just driving me nuts until I was giving a lecture down in Fort Lauderdale, and I couldn't cross the street, A1A, to go from my hotel to the convention center because my foot hurt so bad I had to turn around and go back to the hotel room, which could have been worse because I had my girlfriend with me at the time, and so I suffered my way through this. We'd been dating all for about a week and a half. And it worked out just fine. Okay, I married her. I had to. So all right. So anyway, so I'm dying with this thing. It's killing me. So Tess says, "Well, what do you think is wrong?" And I went through this differential diagnosis. Ding, 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 and right at the bottom is gout. And she goes, "Well, okay. So what would you, so you could have operation here, operation there, operation here. You don't like doing that. You could take in these medicines. They don't work. What do you do about gout?" And I said, "Well, you can take some allopurinol, but it's unlikely." She goes, "Well, what's it cost?" So $11. So okay. I went ahead. So I didn't have it in my office. I do now. Okay. And so I called Publix. Okay. And so I had them fill it for me. Went and took it. And 2 days later, my foot pain was gone. Okay. And I felt a little silly. Misdiagnosis. All right. Big deal. Now, I have people coming in all the time with kidney failure, but nobody ever checks their uric acid levels. Well, guess who checks uric acid levels now all the time? And they come in with elevated uric acid levels. You bring the uric acid level down with allopurinol, and their kidney failure starts to improve. So we do that 2 or 3 times a week in the office.
So a lot of times it's symptoms that they just say, "Oh, well, that seems like this," and then they write a code down. And I'm talking about not good doctors. They put a diagnosis code because you have to in order to file this properly and get X and Y
just
and
to
money
close
or
out
whatever.
the chart, you have to have a diagnosis.
Right, but a lot of times stuff doesn't fit quite in that little niche.
Being wrong isn't one of the options. Okay?
Exactly.
So when you write something down, you're a doctor. You're right. No. Okay, you're wrong about half the time. That's just the way things go. So, am I any different than that? I think my statistics are a little bit better, but I question every diagnostic value that I throw down, and then I double check it. So we had a guy came in the office today, second visit. Nice fellow. He came in because I treated one of his friends who treated I ended up treating his whole is a block, I think. And so he came in because he was having memory issues. Well, after all, he's in his 70s, so it's normal for somebody in their 70s to not be on their game.
Is it?
No, it's not.
That's an excuse.
That's nonsense. So what I found with this guy initially was that his pregnenolone level was too low, which causes memory loss. And then when I finally got the rest of my labs back in, which I did myself in my own office, I found that his parathyroid level was the highest I've ever seen in anybody. So what's that all about? So when you see parathyroid levels elevate, okay, when the parathyroid levels elevate, you end up with kidney stones, you end up with mental changes, mentation changes, you'll end up with muscular pain, all of which this guy had. So what was it that refined the diagnosis? And he's been suffering for 10, 15 years.
Oh, that's wrong.
No, it's exactly why I see people. So if you go ahead and you look up parathyroid adenoma on WebMD, it's going to say something about it being a rare disease. We see that rare disease 3 to 4 times a month.
Oh, come
on. It's only rare because if you don't look for it, it is going to never be found. A prepared eye sees what it's prepared to see. And that's what you have to do. If you don't look, you're not going to find anything. And that is what is killing everybody. They don't realize it. Well, I went in and I had my annual blood work. And you look at it and you realize that what they ordered is about a $45 panel. I mean, you think it's a lot of money. $45.
Should be
to
more
a CBC,
like
a GMP.
$200 or $300 range, and you should be checking
it's
all
$40
kinds of stuff.
It's $40 is what
Check
the
your
labs
sugar,
get paid for
check
this.
your cholesterol.
Right. $15 so far, not even that much actually. It's $3. $3 for CBC.
TSH hormones.
It's $40. Okay, so they don't check what needs to be checked. How many women are out there right now, at menopausal age, or let's say you're having hot flashes and you're 40, have never had their estradiol, progesterone, and testosterone checked? And the answer is the vast majority, right?
Oh,
Okay,
two in this room.
How can you figure out what's wrong until you check it? What about folks that think they have thyroid disease? And I get these every day.
Oh, yeah.
Every day they come in, they're on Synthroid.
You're
and
just
Voxel.
fat.
Yeah.
No, sorry.
Okay, and you find that they have autoimmune thyroid disease, which has to be treated differently. So you can have a misdiagnosis, and odds are you do. It's really very, very interesting. So when does this become a problem? When you operate on somebody's back or neck? You don't think that can be a problem, huh? Okay, so what are the 3 possibilities if somebody has their neck operated on or back? Okay, 3 possibilities equally likely. Okay, it's 33% that it'll get some better, 33% that it'll stay the same, and 33% that it will get worse.
Yeah.
And over time, they all get worse.
Of course.
So what are we looking at? Okay, it may or may not be the right thing to do. And in fact, frequently it is not. So recurrent urinary tract infections. Anybody out there? I get lots of urinary tract infections. You ever wonder why? Okay, you can't be, it can't be all a matter of hygiene, right? No. So you need to make sure that you don't have an entrovesicular fistula. In other words, a passage between your bladder or your vagina and your colon. And this happens, especially after childbirth.
Yep.
So misdiagnosis is something that strikes a lot. What about simple things? Okay, simple things. So you end up with a kid who's hyperactive. You think that that's just a pure psychiatric illness? Inflammatory bowel disease will do it. There are lots of these little ditties that you learn by keeping as a physician, by keeping your eyes and ears open. So I made it a point, the first 20 years of my practice, to read a textbook every week. That's a lot of reading.
That is a lot of reading.
But not in my field.
Okay.
Okay, I would read it in other fields of medicine. So people ask me, well, how do you know so much? You ought to see what my library looks like.
Free your mind, the rest will follow.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do we avoid misdiagnosis? And a quick, just give it,
the easiest way to deal with this thing is to listen to your own internal BS meter. Okay, if something isn't easily explained, it's probably incorrect. If something rolls off the tongue very, very quickly, it's probably incorrect. And the third way you test it, okay, is after it's all said and done, you ask the doctor or a nurse practitioner or a PA or whoever you happen to be seeing, is if I were your daughter, son, mother, what would you do right now?
Ooh.
There you go.
Okay. Then you'll get to the heart of what needs to happen, because you will then figure out whether or not that individual is confident in their diagnostic abilities.
Dr. Klein, are you taking new patients?
Of course I'm taking new patients. The waiting, it's we'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, no, we work as late as we need to. We do not think that it's any great honor to make people wait weeks to be seen. Okay. That is nonsense. Doesn't mean you're a good doctor. We're busy as heck, and we've been busy
Stages
as heck.
of Life, medicalinstitute.com, or you can just give a call, 407-679-3337. Any of the stuff we talked about tonight, product-wise, nutraceuticals, or otherwise, can be found at stagesoflifevitamins.com. And what's that lovely mug you have in your office about your Google search?
Don't confuse my MD with your Google search. Okay? Don't do it. Okay? Because you know something? The problem with the internet is it's the internet.
Right.
Okay? There is not a lot of, let's just say, refereeing going on
Checks
out there.
and balances.
But if you want something to read on the internet that I will assure you is accurate, you can go to suffernomore.com, and I've got hundreds of hours of reading for you.
Perfect. All right, Dr. Klein, we always enjoy it when you stop by and educate us. Tonight, Misdiagnosis. You know, the guy loves a challenge, so feel free to check it out. stagesoflifemedicalinstitute.com. Also, connectionshow.com. And Lizzie,
Yep.
You're still doing Eagle Radio on the weekends, right?
Yep, Saturday and Sunday, 10 to 3.
EagleOnlineRadio.com. And now it's time for this loud music. Ready? Here it goes. It's our exit song. All right, everybody, thanks for hanging out with us. We really appreciate it. Any questions or otherwise, any show topics? I'm going to beat you with a stick.
Wasn't me that time.
No, it wasn't you that time, but you did it earlier.
I know.
All right.
I thought you did.
Just for you. There, now I'm not my head on the mic, and all is well with the world. All right. So we're out of here until next time. Thanks again for listening. We love you. I mean it. Say goodbye, everybody.
Good night.
Laughing time is over.